Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Changers. I'm so excited to have Miro. I'm so excited. So I've known Miro for a while now, probably a bit longer than either of us would admit. And my guy is based out in Chicago. So just to give you a bit of a background of this guy. So he's the co-founder of PodRiver, a podcasting media company, which is one of the host of one of the, and also a host of one of the USA's top 20 entrepreneur podcasts on iTunes called Boss to Boss, which focuses on Miro's journey, business, and highlights interviews of influential bosses, which is how we met. Miro interviewed me. He also has another business called Hodgepodge, which is about environmental decluttering, which is so cool on so many levels. We're very excited to have you here today, Miro. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm pumped to be here. Finally, we're able to connect across the world, and we did it.
We did it, finally.
Pleasure.
I had some tech issues yesterday. Thank you to the NBN for doing unscheduled maintenance in my area without telling me. So it's so interesting because we were said earlier, just before we jumped on, that it was like 2 years ago that you interviewed me.
Yes. Yeah. You were definitely in the very beginning of my journey into my Boss to Boss podcast. So that's we've been in touch always.
Yeah.
Here we are actually doing this podcast thing again. So
I said I would do it. I guess so Boss to Boss is one of the top 20 entrepreneur podcasts on iTunes. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So at first I didn't even know it got up there. It wasn't until someone was like, "Hey, did you know your show's like ranked?" I'm like, "What?" And I looked and it was there. And it took a while. I would say it took about a solid year of just pumping out episodes nonstop. Currently I'm like in and out, like around the top 100, top 150 area. But at one point we did get up to number 20. But it's been fun. It's like I interviewed somebody that probably you heard of, a lot of other listeners heard of, Jordan Harbinger, and we talked about like what it takes to get there. And he was saying, honestly, he's like, I don't do anything too much better than anybody else. It's just consistency.
Yes.
Keep pumping out the content. And sooner or later, people will listen. Like you have a story. You're all different. We're all different. We're here for a reason. So time to be game changers, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is for me, the number one thing is people like, why have you been successful? Why did you have why has anything worked for you? I'm like, because I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I damn well work the hardest of every person there. Like 100%, I'm going to go above and beyond at every point. And don't get me wrong, we're all going to have days, and this is what Game Changers is all about, where you just like, I'm not doing anything today. And how good is watching a Netflix series all in one day in stretchy pants? That is allowed. And if you don't have those days, you're lying, firstly. But let's be honest about it. Like, it is really around, and that's where it is about consistency and doing the work. And I think that's where Game Changers really sets itself apart, because we're not going to pretend that it's the easiest thing in the world. We're not going to tell you this is so easy and you're going to have the best time becoming a number one entrepreneur in your country. What we are going to tell you is these are the things that we did to make our lives easier, and 100% it comes down to doing the work. There's no life hack here, right?
Exactly.
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, tell us about Hodgepodge.
Yeah, so Hodgepodge is currently Chicagoland based. So I know your listeners are probably, I don't know if they're going to be more in Australia or everywhere, but it is in the US. It's Chicagoland based company. And we wanted to be different. There's a lot of moving companies. There's a lot of decluttering, storage, and kind of wanted to combine all the ideas into one, but also solving a big problem. And the big problem is, whether you believe it or not, there is some sort of global warming issue going on. And there's definitely a shortage of space at dump yards. And there's just constant, companies are going green, more sustainability. So we're trying to play our parts, because what's the one thing we have, right? If you look around your video, my video, like we have stuff. We all have stuff.
We do.
And sooner or later, that stuff's either going to end up in the garbage can, or the alternative is it could be possibly reused and made into another form, another thing, used by somebody else somehow, some way. So that's how Hodgepodge came about. So we were trying to find a way to get things to other people while also providing a service of decluttering, removal, moving people's stuff. And for me personally, like going back when I came from Poland as an immigrant to the US, the first 10 years of my life here, I did go through a lot of repurposing. I got stuff through family, through different communities, through different not-for-profits. And I saw the value of getting things from other people because that's how I got by. And, to me, that was gold at that time. And right now, I still love repurposing things any chance I could.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I was talking about with someone earlier today about this, is that I've never met an entrepreneur or someone that's had success in sort of their business life that hasn't kind of got something like maybe that's a little bit random that they're like deeply into or just a little bit fanatical about in a good way. Just like, and I love that you're like, this is something I grew up with and this is something I like doing. This is something else. This is another arm of my life. And for me, like that's jewelry, right? And I do a lot of refurbishing of jewelry and melting stuff down and making new things. And that kind of creative thing that's also a business at the same time, which I find really interesting as well. Okay. So hands down, let's be honest here, you're one of my game-changing people because I have watched your podcast go from like, hey, I've just got this little podcast, you want to be on it? All right. To suddenly like literally top 20. Like that's incredible. And I think we need to talk about how you've been so successful and why you've been so successful and the game-changing things that you have done. So Miro, tell us, what is your first tip?
All right. Really, really, really hyping this one up here. So let's start it with a very simple, I kind of broke these down into different, like I'll start with my personal tips, like my personal and then business and then kind of tie them all together at the end.
Perfect.
So the first one, it's setting my schedule every single day the night before. So no matter what, I will do a full out schedule for the next day every single night. I don't care if it's 11 p.m. I don't care if it's 3 a.m. that I'm going to bed. I will take that 5-10 minutes and write out a game plan for that next day. And for me, the best way is just been on my phone. I mean, some people love to write stuff. They love the sticky notes. They need to think things down on paper. But for me, my phone is with me at all times because I'm running a business anyway. So it's easiest because I always just keep checking like what's on my calendar, and I've made it a habit. And if I don't get two things, like, I feel like I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to accomplish. And I keep pushing them off to the next day, And I'm not winning. I'm not winning at life that way. I need to reevaluate. I try to reevaluate at least a couple times throughout the week. Why am I pushing all these things off? Like, I got to knock these things out now. So that is one thing that I've incorporated. And I guess if there's a book I could relate to that kind of helped me get on that, like, for example, I'll make my bed every single morning as well. Yeah. It's called Make Your Bed by, do you know which book I'm talking about?
I do know the book you're talking about. I don't know who wrote it though. So for listeners who haven't heard this before, basically Make My Bed is
William McRaven.
That's who it was. So it's this amazing theory that all successful people basically grew up, and it's a scientific study that they did around that they got out of bed and they made their bed in the morning. There's two reasons that this was really, really helpful. One, you've started the day with a win. You started the day achieving something, which immediately scientifically gives us an endorphin rush. So we're like, oh, I did a thing. That's amazing. We crave that more, right? So you're more likely to want to keep getting this kind of win happening in your chemistry. The second thing that happens is that it really sets a benchmark of this is how I'm going to do my life. I'm going to do the thing that I don't. You see, here's the thing with beds. Nothing happens if we don't do it. Mm-hmm. It's still there, but it creates a little bit of chaos that we don't like. As humans, we want to crave some normality. Like, I like walking past my bedroom and seeing everything's in place, right? You're doing the thing that you don't necessarily need to do, but it makes you a better person.
Helps keep your mind organized too a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you see a mess, you might start thinking like a mess. And I don't know.
It works though, absolutely, 100%.
It's subconscious. These subconscious little tricks, little life hacks, I mean, they work. They do.
There's a reason everyone does them. And, I think you'll be hard pressed to find someone who's super successful who doesn't do that kind of action every single morning and have those wins every single morning. Okay.
And yeah,
I love the idea of
no,
the schedule. I do the same thing.
mhm.
I had made a mistake this morning where I didn't have you in mind, and I was like, you're like, hey, we're still doing the video. I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, of course. I'm so sorry because I didn't write it down. I'm a little bit more lo-fi. I have an actual hard copy diary, which seems really silly in 2020 to have a planner because what are we planning? Let's be honest. So
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong
yeah,
with that.
yeah, and it just becomes really tactile. Like I know exactly what I need to do, and some of those things are boring. Like I really need to go for a run today. I really need to
Hmm.
go and buy milk, but if it's not on there, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and uh, things like that, they sound minor, like you
Mm,
were just saying, they do, but just because they're minor doesn't mean they're not a part of your day and they're not taking up time. Like they should be there. And otherwise, like you get those hours. Like obviously, like you were saying, you should reward yourself with some Netflix. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
But if you have like these create a lot of like time slots that aren't filled up, a lot of times you get to them and you're like, ha, here we go. Let's bust out my phone. Let's start, swiping up and down,
yeah,
left and right. And next thing you know, you're like, what have I done today?
yeah.
If you don't have that game plan set up.
I love it. I love that tip. It is absolute game changer. Absolutely. All right. What else
Um,
have you got for us? Tip number
yeah.
2.
So tip number 2, let's go. So reach out to the ones who you think will never respond, essentially aiming for the moon. So with that
Mm,
especially, this happened probably more for my podcast than for my business. My business a little bit, but that kind of grew more organically.
yeah.
For the podcast, I especially imposter syndrome. Like that is one that a lot of us get. We feel that we're not
Everyone
worthy
gets.
enough. Yeah, we're not
Everyone.
good enough. And it took me a while to get over it, but once you get a couple under your belt, you're like, like we're not that much different here. Like I'm sitting here with some person that's got 10 million followers, and they're like, they're human. I'm human. Like a lot of stuff. Like we were made the same way. We were.
Yeah.
We really were. So it wasn't until I realized that here I am, the internet, this age that we live in, this life that we are a part of, like us being born in this generation, we've gotten so easy. It's so easy. Like we could legit send an Instagram message. I would make an awesome, cool video to that one person you want to meet, or that 10 people you want to meet. Send them all awesome videos on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever it is. Make it personalized. Make it, show that you care, and reach out to that person you really want to reach out to. Like, yes, they probably won't reply, but 1 out of 10, 20, 50
Might.
will.
Yeah.
And that's going to start changing things because those little wins add up. They do. And it wasn't until kind of overcoming that mental block that you can reach out to anybody. And nowadays, whoever it is, I'll reach out. Like even though maybe they're not using that platform, whatever it is, Facebook, LinkedIn, you got to try with them all. Just reaching out to the people, aiming for the moon, reaching out to businesses that you thought would never want to speak to you or care. Like there's someone out there that cares. If you have a good story, if you're genuine, if you can show, like I reached out about speaking at a conference, and I was like, why would anyone want to hear from me? But I got an offer. Like I'm hoping everything works out and I could make it happen, and I'll be speaking at it. It's about podcasting, and it's like, I knew nothing about podcasting 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So just because I had an awesome story and I was genuine and I showed that I cared, and I was willing to reach out, like simple as that, taking action, reaching out, and aiming for the moon every once in a while.
I think this is so valuable. This idea is like, why not you? It really comes down to like, why not you? Why can't I be the person that speaks at the event? I've got an interesting story. I've got the thing. I've got the content. I know what I'm doing. I've got the skills to do it. Why, someone said to me, that old saying about like, never meet your heroes. I met Gary Vee. He's awesome. He's actually genuinely like a cool dude, and he wants to
He's
hang out
so
with you.
chill. So
Oh my
chill.
gosh. And you're expecting I saw him, I was like, this is so weird because I spend hours with him every week, literally hours with him, like listening to things, watching videos, listening to stuff that he's done. I was like, this dude knows his stuff, right? Then I met him and I'm like, you are just the same person. And I thought how interesting it was, like, Oh, he won't want to meet me. He did. He was like, I really like you. You're cool. Love your energy. I was like, stop it. Say more things like that. Stop. And this is like, why not you? It really comes down to that of like, absolutely, do make those videos. Send them out. I love that because you never know who's going to want to collaborate and who's like, yeah, you're actually, and so many things look really shiny from the outside. And then you sort of look in the back end and it's like, it's stuck together with sticky tape. And they're like, they just don't have any idea what they're doing either. Let's all be very honest about this. We're all figuring it out as we go along. This is how it goes.
They were in your shoes, whether 5 years ago or 20 years ago, they were there.
Everyone starts with 0 followers.
Yeah, especially if you can find that common connection, do your homework. There might be some way to get on the ends. So if you're committed and you care and you do your homework, why not? Like, a lot of people just give it a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, tip number 3. What have you got for us?
With 3, so this is going to be a little bit more on my business side of things with Hodgepodge specifically. Following up with a personal phone call for every single customer that I ever had. And keep in mind, we've had almost 1,000 customers. So
I love the idea of that, just that repeat of like, hey, what's up? How's things with you? Is this part of a sales funnel? Is this like a thank you phone call, or is that all of the above?
All of the above. It's more of just a thank you. Like that's all it is though. When I follow every single customer since the very beginning, I've kind of pledged to myself that I will reach out to them. A lot of companies don't. Maybe they'll send like a quick email or like a questionnaire, like how to rate us, review us.
And who's filling that out? You've just asked for more of my time. That's not happening.
It's usually automated too.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay.
Dear customer, thank you for your email.
I've gotten so many reviews, so many follow-ups, so many referrals because of that. Just because I take the extra 5 to 10 minutes and call every single customer and just ask how the team did, how we did, what we could do better, introduce myself if they don't know me, as one of the owners of the company, and just, appreciate them, tell them that we appreciate them for the job, whether it was good or bad, whatever it turned out, just have a little point of contact afterwards. And that has been such a huge game changer. Like I can't stress this one enough. And I know this one's not easy because not everybody has the time to do it, but honestly, the time you put into it, it'll pay back tenfold. Like when you least expect it, it really will.
I think I cannot stress this one enough. Like I cannot, and not necessarily just that action, but about the customer service aspect. So in going that above and beyond, and just the, because we all expect if I bought a bed online recently, right? So I have some guy come and set it up for me before we went into lockdown. And because I moved house and I needed a new bed. And I got probably 10 to 15 emails from the company in the next 3 weeks. First one was like, congratulations on purchasing your bed. We hope your bed is comfortable. And I'm like, stop emailing me. And it was like, can you review us? Can you please, have you got a friend? Here's $50 if you give us a referral. And I was like, you need to calm down because what did I do? Put it to spam. I am never going to work with that company again. And I love my bed. Don't get me wrong. I would recommend that bed to the end of days. But that company, I was like, you're really annoying and you're wanting too much of my time. If they had called me and said, how did it go? Have you got 5 minutes to tell us about the thing? Like, how are you going? I would 100% have given them 20 minutes if they needed it. But you don't get to come into my inbox 15 times in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Unacceptable.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think just that.
Anything that more than like 2, 3, it's pushing it.
Oh, and it was just little things like, oh, have you thought about bedding for your bed? And I'm like, yeah, I would have bought it if I didn't. I was like, you need to calm down, firstly. The other thing I would say for this one about just that little bit of like the personalization of it. As you know, Miro, we were meant to speak. We had like a phone call booked in the middle of the bushfires, the Australian bushfire crisis in late December 2019 and early 2020. And then we've rolled straight into COVID-19. Thank you. What was interesting about this was Christmas comes and goes for most Australians, and we don't really have a chance to acknowledge it, especially if you're in one of the bushfire affected areas, because it also felt, read the room, guys. Like we can't really be throwing a huge party right now and seeing all our family when literally Australia was on fire. It was taking a real back seat to what's happened for the rest of 2020. So I usually for Christmases send out packages to all my clients and my customers and all those things for the year. That didn't happen this year. So when I get a reprieve in February, I package everything up that I would have sent out anyway and sent them, but I just didn't attach a Christmas card. And I was like, thank you so much for all the awesome work last year. Tenfold, made probably every dollar I spent, I probably made $10 in the back end of that, because every person was like, oh my gosh, this gratitude of thank you, buying more stuff, recommending courses, sending it to friends, and additional shares on Facebook, additional, you've been guest on I think you sent me was it you that sent me a Starbucks card? Like these things go above and beyond. So because it's like suddenly I get this.
You remembered.
Of course I did. I had it, and I think I remember I used it in Hawaii, and I was like, I finally used the card.
Yeah.
Because it was American dollars, and I couldn't use it in Australia. I was like, this is so annoying. So it became, but these things above and beyond, how much do you, like, it's such a little thing that becomes such a big thing for the other person.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that. I didn't realize there's no Starbucks in Australia. I should have done my research.
Oh, we've got like 4 in total,
okay.
But it was more like they were like, oh, this is an American, we can't use it, our systems don't talk. I'm like, of course they don't. Why would you be an international company and not work? Of course.
Dang it. Damn, that's
but thank you. You bought me my first breakfast in Hawaii, so that was great.
Yeah, I love that place. But yeah, no, I'm surprised their system won't convert it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, look, the little things. Maybe that's why I'm back on your show now. I'm here on your show because of that.
It's definitely part of the reason. Like it just became, well, and it was another reason for me to engage with you. When that arrived in the mail, I was like, what is this? This is amazing. And this has been a consistent thing that you will see. And it's the psychological reasoning for this is something called the law of reciprocity. So you do the interview, you're like, thank you so much, Jemima, for having me. Bang, I get a card in the mail. What do I immediately do? As I share it, I'm like, thank you so much. And I put another post on social media and say, thank you for that. I'm so grateful. I share like, oh, by the way, so when you say to me, here's your podcast, can you release it to your people? Of course I'm going to share it. It's going to go like, I'm like, you did a little thing for me. I'm going to do a little thing for you. And suddenly we're building each other up.
Yes.
We're doing these. Exactly. Yeah. You're going above and beyond a little bit more. And so then I use the card, put that in my travel wallet, go to Hawaii, send Miro a message like, finally used it. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, where are you, Hawaii? I've now got another touch point.
Yeah. That's
These
a great
things are very slowly compounding, build relationships, build ideas, or build communication, build ways of us communicating, have fun things to talk about, and now we're teaching you on another podcast together.
Yes.
This one action has resulted in a 2-year communication friendship. What's going on? How's things with you? Yeah, I'm good. Here's a photo. Here's a thing. Like this tiny one little thing changed everything. So this one phone call, I'm not surprised.
You need to like take that clip and like make a separate video of it, because you answered so many people's questions. Like I have people give me a tough time, like about why would you do that? Why the hell would you waste your time and money? Like we could be putting that money towards somebody else, towards something else.
Yeah.
And this is why I do it. Exactly, for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Law of reciprocity is what it is called. Okay. Moving on from law of reciprocity, which I will definitely do another podcast on. So number 4, tell us about number 4, please.
All right. So this one's definitely, I guess this is business, but at the same time, it's related to my personal life as well. I've been documenting my journey and story on social media / podcasting since day one. I know some people do it, some don't. I don't know how, not everybody has their own way, but my way has been the podcast. So I have a first podcast that was called Love the Journey. That was like my first maybe 100 episodes of me like not knowing what the hell I'm doing with my life.
Totally fine.
Quitting a job, and it was amazing. And then I eventually got to Boss, and I always do a once a week update episode where it's called like rants and recaps. That just keeps documenting the journey of the smaller things that are happening in my life, the hodgepodge, my employees, who I'm firing, who I'm hiring, like things like that. So I'm constantly documenting what's happening, where we're going. And I have a great team that I'm working with. I have an awesome assistant and another virtual assistant as well. And constantly in communication, constantly pumping out stuff to LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the time since day one. And it sooner or later, you know, people start noticing and they start messaging you and contacting you about like, you've been doing a lot. You've been doing a lot lately. The creature has awakened. I love cats.
Yeah, he's really helpful. He's really helpful. In no way. He just comes and hangs out and tries to eat things while I'm doing podcasts. You know, what I find really interesting about the documenting of the journey is that so many people haven't done that. And I think it's going to be of regret later because, and the other thing is, I think you don't realize how many people are watching. So to give you an idea of this, last night I hosted a trivia night and I had just put out like a little call on Facebook. I'm like, anyone wants to do it. It was all in isolation. We're still in lockdown as of April 2020. I had to really check the month for a second then. I was like,
when she losing track of time, it's crazy.
I totally am. And like someone's like, Easter was last week. I'm like, Easter was last month. And they're like, no, Jemima, Easter was last week. It's like, oh, it's been a real adventure. So what happened was someone said to me like, oh, jumps on this call. And I haven't spoken to this person in like, I just put an open Zoom link out. And I was like, we're doing it at 7 p.m. See you there. Jump on if you want to. And all these people jumped on that I hadn't seen for a long time, hadn't engaged with anything, hadn't liked a post, hadn't called. We're on this call and suddenly I was like, wow, more people are seeing my stuff than I think there are. And it became this really, I was like, I totally can forget that unless they're hitting that like button or that share button, that they're still seeing it. So you have, like, again, it's the documentation is telling that story of like, I started this podcast and it was terrible. I'm now one of the top 20 podcasts in the US. Like that stuff is so valuable and people watch your journey and you inspire people that you don't even realize you're inspiring.
Yeah. And that's a great point you bring up because there are those people that you'll run into sooner or later at a store, at an event, and they'll be like, oh man, like you've done so much lately.
You're killing it. You're killing it.
But they'll never, no one will ever like your stuff. They won't share it. They'll be in the closet forever. But you know, there's those people listening and it's exponential. There's a lot more of them. There's a ton of them. And with that, it provides you two things. So one is you have a story, you have something credible, something that people can relate to. People want to do work with, partner with, do business with someone they could relate to. So someone that they trust, someone they developed a relationship with, even though it might be a one-way relationship, it still is. Because if you are consuming content, you know, you're seeing this person's real, you're seeing they're doing something. Yeah. So you want to be able to get something or do something with that person as opposed to that, I don't know, big corporation, so-and-so, and you're like, why would I just go with so-and-so if there's nothing that connects me to them? Whereas with this individual, I know there's something they're doing. I know they're onto something. I knew them somewhere, somehow. I watched their stuff. Like, it just makes it so much of an easier decision for that person to possibly relate to.
Yeah.
The story matters. It
does.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, your entire story matters. I think it's really interesting that, you know, about this documentation of journey is that when my profile started growing, I had people from like high school and primary school and stuff reach out and they were like, hey, what's up? How you been? And I was like, see an article about me recently, did you? Was it Marie Claire that you saw that thing happening? And it's really interesting because that stuff, like it comes back, people are watching and they see stuff about you. It's really incredible. So don't downplay that. It's really, really valuable.
It is. And number two, you can see how bad you were.
Oh, yeah. You sucked.
You can see how bad you sucked.
Absolutely. You had no idea what you were doing, and that's a good thing.
And it's awesome, yeah, because it's progress. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
this is what I'm doing now. Like,
yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen in the next 2 years. 5 years.
I did an interview once with a guy who's now got one of the top, literally, I think top 10 podcasts or top 20 on iTunes around the world, right? Whose name I won't say, but he got me in the podcast, and he basically gets me on the podcast and then says to me, I can't pronounce your name. And he got so nervous. He's like, Jemima. And I was like, no, it's Jemima. Let's start again. His first podcast sucked. Like I was like one of the top 10, like first 10 people. Terrible. Mm-hmm. And now he's killing it. you have to, you have to be brave enough to suck at something new. You have to be that. Once upon a time, Tiger Woods had never played golf. He can just come out swinging a golf club. You have to learn that you have to start at the bottom, basically. And it's a challenge. And we're not good at it because we want to be good at everything, especially when it becomes a public thing, like a video or a podcast or something.
Yeah, that's important too. It's not one of my points, but I think we kind of start to spread ourselves too thin sometimes, especially us entrepreneurs. We see this shiny object. We're like, oh, wow, now I got to be trading Bitcoin. Oh, wow, now I got to go buy real estate because it's down. Oh, wow, now I got to be a coach. Oh, wow, now whatever it is, we want to do it all. And it wasn't until I kind of start narrowing things down to just like a couple things. And that's it. Like, focus on that. Go full in on that. No one was ever really good at a few things. I know there's some quote like that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who says it.
Don't be medium at a whole bunch of stuff. Be really good at a few. Yeah.
Exactly. Or that one. If there's the one and you can narrow it down to the one thing you're so passionate about and you can tie it to your business or some sort of way where you can still get by, just go 100% all in on it. Please, please, please.
I love it.
You will not regret it.
All right. And final tip. Let's go.
This sort of ties into my last tip of a word that's been mentioned so many times already. And it's consistency.
Of course.
The magic word, consistency. If there's one thing that set me apart for everything, it has been consistency. It's been following up with the phone calls, making my schedule. It's been keep recording the podcast, even if I know there were 25 to 50 people listening in the very beginning, and I was still pumping it out because I was like, well, maybe one day. And
but if those 25 people all give you $1,000, you have 25,000. It's a real thing. Like I would rather depth. Like I'd rather have like a better relationship with 100 people than have 10,000 people not really give a shit about me, but be following me on Instagram.
100%.
Depth, not width. It's huge.
So just grind it. Just grind it out. Find those couple things you want to do.
Yes.
Obviously, do some research into it too, because without any research, you're probably going to stumble a lot along the way, and you might find out that this is not something you like or want to do. And then just go all in. Just keep giving it your all. I can't say enough about podcasting. I love it. I love this medium here because podcasts stay on forever. Like you have the files, they're digital. So, yes, we don't know what's going to happen in 20, 50, 50 years when there's robots and we can't have podcasts because we're not allowed or something. But right now we could. And you never know when a podcast or somebody on your podcast blows up or something else happens and, I could Google quickly that file or YouTube it, search it on iTunes.
Yeah.
There it is. All of a sudden that thing went from 500 listens to 500,000 listens.
Yeah.
It's like,
And consistency is just this thing that, hard work is so important because in this this fake book, fake life that we can all lead.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what else we do, but we have to do the work. There's no magic pill. All those ads that you're seeing for do our course and you'll become a millionaire are bullshit. There's no other way to explain it. It's just not a thing. You have to do the work. And the grind for that is a lot. But the thing is, it's consistency. It's turning up even when you don't want to. Because if I only worked the days that I wanted to work, I would never have done anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that simple. Like it's just consistency, turning up every single day and just working the best of your ability and doing the thing again and again and again. You don't go to the gym once and get abs, right? It's not how that goes. That would be ideal though. If someone could create that gym, I'm in.
But look at it from the other perspective. If you can get all these things right away and you just got it all, the perfect life.
Yeah.
What would you do next? What would you possibly do next if you just got it all? It's about that journey.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That journey. It's about getting there. And then once you get there, you want to get somewhere else and somewhere else. Well, you know what? Usually it's not a perfect road. It's going to be very wavy. It's going to be a roller coaster, and it's going to be fun. Enjoy it. You only get to do it one time. Please enjoy it.
Yeah, life isn't a series of waiting for things to be done, right? We're meant to enjoy this process. All right. Well, your top tips are amazing. Thank you so much. I just have a few. I have obviously some quick fire questions I need to throw at you very quickly.
All right.
Miro, what is your favorite movie?
Blow.
Oh, good choice. What is your favorite bar in Chicago?
Ooh. Damn.
You can only have one, by the way, just one.
Eris Brewery and Cider House.
Why?
Because it's local. It's like 10 minutes, 5 minutes from my house.
Perfect.
And they have cider flights. No place ever has cider flights.
That's awesome.
It's sweet. And beer. I mean, you could get regular, like all types of craft beer flights, but they got cider. Like they make their own cider. They have like 10 different kind, including like jalapeno and coffee cider and blueberry cider.
This is what I miss about the US. Like being stuck in Australia right now is really good, but also equally it's nice to be home, but also like there's just, I'm never going to find a jalapeno cider in Australia. It's just not going to happen. Okay, final thing. What are you binging at the moment during isolation?
I guess if it's a show, it's The Office again.
The US or the British one?
The US. Okay. I never got to Is the British one any good?
Yeah, you'll find it jarring because they pretty much shot remake for season 1, but season 2 is different to season 2 of The Office and UK one. Look, I love The Office. Who's your favorite character?
I mean, it's got to be Dwight. I mean, it's tough. So good. I mean, he's like but it's like everybody likes him because he's just so crazy. But I don't know how you don't. He's right.
My secret favorite is Creed Bratton because he just comes out with the best quotes that come out of nowhere. So if you're an Office fan, there is an amazing YouTube clip and it's called Creed Bratton's 10 Best Moments or something. It goes for about 10 minutes. And physically, I can't watch it without crying with laughter. He does this speech about having asthma. He's like, if I have asthma, I can't scuba. And what has this all been for? And it makes no sense right now, but I promise you the whole video doesn't make any sense because he doesn't as a character. So
he is good. He is good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, please go and check that out. Ending on the high note of Creed Bratton and Dwight, who's also another favorite. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much. Like, it's so good. I love technology, and I love that, one coffee card and one podcast interview, and 2 years later we're getting to do this all again.
Yes. No, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here on your episode, on your show. And definitely looking forward to everything else to come, to watching your journey and watch this podcast unravel.
Thank you. Well, really excited. Guys, there is going to be down in the bar below you, if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the show notes, you'll be able to find everywhere that you can find Miro, including his website, his podcast, and where you can listen to Boss to Boss. We can't wait to have you back. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Game Changers. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Peace.